Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on this exciting day for Ohio Athletics. Today, you will hear from Director of Athletics Julie Cromer and Head Football Coach Brian Smith. Each will provide opening remarks before we open it to questions. Once Coach Smith has finished his opening remark, we will take questions for both participants. Please raise your hand in the Teams chat, and I will call on you. Please introduce yourself and specify who the question is for. With that, please welcome Director of Athletics Julie Cromer and Head Coach Brian Smith.
Sarah, thank you. And thank you to all of you who joined us on relatively short notice today. It is an important day in the history of our football program and of our athletics department, and I would say even so for our university. Many of you know over the last several days, we have been conducting a national search to find the next leader of our football coach. And we're happy to announce today that we have arrived at the perfect destination in appointing Brian Smith as our next head coach for Ohio Bobcat football. I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the search process. I imagine there will be some questions about that, so we'll get a little bit of the procedure out of the way. We did engage Parker Executive Search to assist with us in identifying candidates nationally who would be worthy of the opportunity to lead our Ohio Bobcat football program. In that process, we engaged several former players who enthusiastically provided their input as to what the key components and qualities of our program actually not only are, but how they contribute to our success. We had 2 rounds of interviews of a diverse pool, and ultimately that process led to our selection of Brian. And you'll be able to hear from Coach Smith in just a moment. I do want to take a moment to thank Dr. Lori Stewart-Gonzalez for her outstanding leadership and attentiveness to the search at what was a very busy time for her as well. We had graduation on campus just last Saturday, and she was able to quickly pivot to help us finish our search. And for that, we appreciate Dr. Stewart-Gonzalez, and we look forward to continuing to work with her to foster the success of our football program. You may want to know what the qualities were that we were looking for in our search. As I mentioned, we engaged several former players, coaches, and staff members, and also our current student athletes who were extremely vocal in their support of internal candidacy, but more importantly, in their acknowledgement that where we are with our program is a unique place in history, and this is something they are committed to advancing and continuing. So their biggest ask of us was to find a player-centered coach who would come in and respect the traditions that we have in our program after decades of a winning culture and maintain that culture and advance us with momentum toward the future. So we were looking for a player-centered coach. We were looking for a winner. We were looking for, again, somebody who could respect and make the most of our tradition and culture. And I just want to emphasize this particular search is different than so many others you see happening across the country. This is not a rebuild. This is a program that is at the arc of its competitive strength, and we're interested in continuing that trajectory. And as a result, we found a coach who can help us do that. In this Ohio Bobcat program, quite simply, we graduate and we win, and we are MAC champions. And that is a standard we hope to continue to elevate over the coming years. I think if you think about our past 3 seasons, we have 30 wins across those 3 seasons. We're excited to have an opportunity to play for history in a couple of days. We are 17-1 at home, which provides an exciting atmosphere to our Athens community. And most importantly, today, just as we were on the day after we returned from Detroit, we are the MAC champions. And as I talked with the team this morning, we shared with them the news. They were extremely excited about the selection. We woke up as MAC champions this morning, and nothing can take that away from them, no matter where their lives take them as they move forward. One of you, I'm sure, will ask me about the player-led leadership through this process. We did engage with select players who served as liaisons between me and the Unity Council and the entire team for this process. I just want to compliment those young men and their professionalism, their perspective, their engagement with the process during a time of great uncertainty. Their voices were not lost on us. And I think that we have a result that will make them proud to continue their time with us as Bobcats. I also want to point out that going into this trip this week, we were the only FBS program in the country without any players entering the transfer portal. I think we understand realistically that players have a lot of choices to make, but I am so impressed and proud to be the athletics director for a program of Bobcats who determined that they would stick together and enjoy this experience that they're having here in Orlando as we prepare for the Cure Bowl. Finally, I'd just like to make a couple of comments about Coach Smith before I turn it over to him. I think that some of you have had the opportunity to get to know Brian and his family in their years here in Athens. I have tremendous confidence in Brian. Most importantly, I can tell you when he arrived 3 years ago, we noticed his presence right away. We noticed his impact right away. And we have a tower full of talented assistant coaches to be able to stand out even within that group is a measure of a man and a measure of a professional who is prepared to lead his own program. The other thing that was really compelling to me, in addition to his football acumen and his success on the field, was the fact that as I asked each candidate what it would take them to be successful, Brian uniquely provided answers to that question that were exclusively player focused. You can imagine when you ask that question of candidates, they have a variety of responses, but there was one candidate who spoke only about the players and not about himself, which was incredibly telling to me. And I can understand how he's been able to rally this group together as interim head coach. And we are so pleased that he has agreed to stay with us as our next head coach of Ohio Bobcat football. Sarah, should we turn it over to Coach Smith?
Yes, Coach Smith, we are ready for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello, everybody. First off, I am humbled and grateful for the opportunity to lead the Ohio University football program. I'm looking forward to making the university community and the greatest fans in the MAC proud of our players and program. Coach Solich and Coach Albin laid a foundation of winning both on and off the field. They did this in the right way, brick by brick, with a culture that will now be protected for years to come. I want to thank Athletic Director Julie Cromer and President Lori Gonzalez for entrusting me with this proud program. I also want to thank those who have supported me along this journey, most importantly, my wife, Leanne, and daughter, Chloe. We are thrilled to continue to call Athens our home, and I cannot be more excited to continue this historic season and compete in the Cure Bowl this Friday, and do it with the only team still fully intact in the country. So moving forward from there, I cannot be more excited to lead this group of young men. In my 3 years working in the program, it's a group that I have grown to truly love and respect the commitment that they've made to each other and to the program. And it's a reflection of how they have stuck together throughout this entire season. So Sarah, if you're open for questions, let her rip.
All right, Eric, you're up.
Hey, Coach. First off, Eric Decker with the Athens Messenger. First off, congrats on getting the gig. I just kind of want to ask, Director Cromer mentioned that you guys kind of broke the news to the team, especially with kind of how some members on the team have kind of publicly vied for you and supported you through this process. What was kind of the reaction of the team, and what did it kind of mean to just kind of have that support internally already there for you?
I would say the natural reaction was that the team was excited. And change is always hard, especially for kids, even adults. So they were going through a change in their lives. And I think they were very happy to know that there was an internal applicant that was going to be hired. It was someone that they know, that they respect, that they trust, and that the values of the program would stay intact. So I think that brought a lot of comfort to them.
And then kind of adding on, as mentioned before, with you guys being the only institution still fully intact at this point in the year, not necessarily to the culture, the university itself, but to the players, what does it kind of say to them that they have this commitment to kind of ride this process out together?
Exactly that. It says that they have a lot of love and respect for each other. And I think it shows that they really enjoy playing football together and being around each other. And that's something that's rare right now, that that guys care so much about each other that they want to see this thing through and express their commitment to each other. So it is something special to be a part of.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Bobby Keegan with the Post. You mentioned it a little bit in your opening statement, but you talk about the foundation that's been laid by Tim Albin and Frank Solich over the last 20, 30 years. Just what about that is so important to you, and what parts of that foundation are you hoping to continue the most?
The core values, where it's very much a player-centric program, it is built on love and respect of the players and the staff. The staff members developing great connections with the players and leading them as young men and developing them into great human beings, preparing them to be great fathers and members of the community, and a commitment to service to the community. So you're developing more than just football players. And when kids are able to really trust each other and develop powerful relationships, they play a lot harder for each other. And I truly believe that's been the foundational basis of the program, and that's what's allowed for sustained success for a long time.
Go ahead, Grant.
Grant Kiefer, WAB. First off, Coach, congratulations. In the press release, Director Cromer stated that you have a plan for not only sustaining the culture, but also building it upon the evolving landscape in college football. Can you just kind of elaborate on that a little bit and what that is in your mind?
Yeah, that's more the challenge moving forward. So for me, it's continuing to really be a life learner as a coach. Right now there's so many changes happening in college football that all coaches are learning on the fly. So being able to adapt quickly and learn from other coaches that are going through these same things at the same time. There are situations where I can't call Coach Solich and ask him, how did you handle this situation? So I think being very open as a coach to accepting those new challenges and being creative in how you're going to address them is extremely important moving forward.
Go ahead, Griffin.
Hey, Coach. Griffin Albright with WTAP. Just wanted to ask you specifically about the staff. Are you going to keep the same staff that you have right now? Are you going to get some new guys moving forward? And then schematically, offensively, and defensively, you're going to change anything that you had going from this year to next year, or is everything going to stay pretty much the same?
I have so much respect for the staff members that are here that I had a chance to work with and create relationships with, that I think it would be unwise of me to try to not try to retain people. So that is a focus right now, is to hopefully retain a good amount of the staff. I know that there will be some turnover, and that'll create some opportunity to bring in new people. But that's a big part of the culture too, are the people that have been in the program and the jobs that they've done. And I have tremendous respect for that. So we're going through that process right now. I definitely can't talk about any names at this time, but I'm looking forward to being able to roll out what the staff will look like in the near future. Then as far as schematically, the offense, a lot of it will stay the same. I definitely have put my fingerprints all over what we have done. The terminology when I got here was based off of what Coach Albin had done. But a lot of the schematics have been changed, adjusted, added to from my time being in the program. So I'll continue to be extremely involved in what we do offensively, and that will continue to grow and evolve, with my involvement. Defensively, I think that we've done a great job the last 3 years. And if we have an opportunity to keep what we're doing schematically, I think that's awesome. And if we have to change things, it will be very similar schematically.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. Andrew Bowlby with WAP. Just wondering, with all the timing of everything and all the news that's come out, is it a little bit relieving for you to have this news announced before the bowl game?
I mean, it's exciting for sure. I think it is great that it's to know what the answer is, when you're going through the process. I think once you finally are able to settle in with it, there is a a relief to it. And the bigger portion is it allows me to really get to work on being the head coach now, which is the exciting part of it.
Go ahead, Eric.
This for Director Cromer. Obviously, you kind of mentioned in your opening statement there that this was a really player-driven kind of search on your end and taking the opinion and kind of value the say of the players in the program. What about the guys on this team and what this kind of program has done has allowed you to kind of put your faith in what they would say and kind of having value into their opinion?
I think if you know anything about our program, you know that we lead, we graduate, and we win. And the results speak for themselves. So the player unity is significant. We've already mentioned that a couple of times. When we say player-led culture, though, it's about a lot more than everybody lining up and deciding they're all going to hold a particular position. It's about respecting each other's opinions. It's about being able to perhaps see two different sides of an issue and respecting and agreeing to continue to be teammates regardless of how we may align or how we're different. The thoughtful approach to this, Eric, was just as important. This was more than just guys all taking a unity bond and saying they were going to hold out to get their way. It wasn't that at all. Mm-hmm. They talked about the qualities we needed. They talked about playing winning football. So again, this isn't just a popularity contest. The reason why they wanted, why they supported somebody continuing with the program is because look at the outcomes in this program right now. It's hard to find another coach in the country who has been part of 3 10-win seasons. It's hard to find another coach in the country who's part of a sitting championship program. It's hard to find another program in this country that graduates at the rate that we do and that has the buy-in at the rate that we do. The results speak for themselves. And so, for me, I think the fact that they were able to talk about the qualities and then we had people here within our building made, ultimately for a very compelling decision. That being said, there were a number of very talented individuals who expressed interest in this position. Coach Smith was the best of them all. And, while the players are happy with the outcome, and I'm glad that they are, ultimately, we're confident we found the right leader for not only this group of players, but the players who will come after them.
Sweet. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Coach, you've talked about it a little bit, but when you look at the transfer portal, you're kind of getting thrown into the fire, I guess, a little bit right now. Kind of just with the state of how college football is, we're kind of like in the heart of transfer portal season. So just kind of what is your approach to that whole situation when it comes to re-recruiting your own players and also trying to go out and add to the team?
Yeah, when you talk about re-recruiting your own players, a lot of that's based in the relationships you have with them and the student athlete experience that they have with you. If your kids are having great experiences, I think there's a lot of encouragement to try to stay. And then when you're looking at the transfer portal, I'm always looking at kids that are going to add value to the team in a number of different ways. And I love looking at kids that are overachievers, and that it's not necessarily means it's a Power 4 kid on their way down. It's, someone that's done a great job with their academics and is also playing at a high level. Someone that's played at a high level at a lower level and is ready to move up. And we're looking at kids that are high character, that are going to bring value to the leadership of the program. And that was an emphasis this last year with how many guys we lost to the transfer portal that were older players, where we knew when we were bringing in new players, they were going to have to be able to impact the leadership and be in a position to lead as starters, and that was what Coleman Owens did and what Trey Tyus did and Carson Heidecker, just to name a few, that were kids that were really high achievers where they were and great people and were implemented into our program and embraced what our culture was. So those are things that we're looking for as we're looking into the transfer portal. But it's something that's going to be an issue every year, and trying to hold on to the players you have and trying to add to the roster that you do and always try to make it better.
Go ahead, Grant.
You talked about the portal and just not only being able to bring in guys, but retain them. And Parker Navarro was one of those players that came into the portal. You've worked in the last few years. Have you had any talks with him yet about, what his future outlook is? I know there's a game in a couple of days, but is that a conversation you've had yet?
We've had conversations with him for sure. Parker's an amazing kid. We have great relationships with him that are very open, honest, transparent. I'm not going to kind of talk about his personal business in this setting. When he's ready to talk about what his future is, it's all in his court. But we have definitely had conversations with him about what his intentions are, and we're excited for him.
Go ahead, Andrew.
For Director Cromer, when you lose a head coach, a lot of times you see guys leave, no one leaves after Coach Albin left. Does that make the decision easier for you guys to hire internally?
What made the decision easy to hire internally is we had great candidates, and we had the best candidate internally. We would have found Coach Smith. It does help that he's here and has been ingrained in our culture and has relationships and an understanding of what it takes to win here, win in our community, win for our university, win in our conference. So I think he would agree that gives you a little bit of a head start as you now transition as a head coach. That being said, that transition is a big one, and you have to be ready for it no matter where you come from. And so the confidence is in knowing that he's ready, and frankly, feeling lucky that he was here with us at the time he was when the opening occurred. He'll do a tremendous job here.
Okay, Eric.
Coach, obviously, you're a West Coast guy growing up. You spent a lot of time of your football career in more tropical places than Athens. But in your few years here, what about Athens, Ohio University, this area has kind of drawn you to the point where you would want to commit to be the full-time coach here?
Yeah. You can talk about the weather of the place, or the other part is you could talk about the climate of the place. And I've loved the climate of Ohio University, and how the athletic department operates, how the student athletes treat each other, how the community is. It's been a great place for me and my family to live. We've enjoyed our time here, and we're excited to continue to make it our home.
And then I do want to ask, I have noticed sometimes in pre-games you wearing the lei on the field. Is that something that's going to continue down on the field as a head coach, or?
I'm sure it will. That's a kind of a traditional last game of the year thing that my wife and daughter do for me. So it's a kind of good luck, and at the same time a sign of respect. So it's a traditional Hawaiian custom.
Thank you.
Yep.